All right, so it's been like, what, 3-something-ish years since I did that whole moving in video, leaving my old apartment, setting up this big office and new room with the shelving and whatnot. And I think back then I said like, oh, maybe we'll do an update video at some point down the road. That's this video. So let's walk you through some of the small changes I've made to the space over the years. Gonna start you off right here, baby. Ooh, we open. There's the office. Now, right off the bat, as we all do over the years, you add little cool knickknacks and things that you buy throughout time. So the Yu-Gi-Oh! Addiction has been spreading, as you all have seen, slowly through like the game collection updates and whatnot. So what became initially this portion of the the office, this was one of the last things I added to it too. Well, between that and the Maja case, if you remember from the moving video. But this was the charging station area, so that's still been really cool and very convenient. Like, that's the one thing I loved about setting up this charging station area, is that it's done exactly what I needed it to do, which was never having to worry about portables, where they are, if they're plugged in, if they've got a charge. You know, it might look a little bit different, but otherwise I've just like got like risers and things and just have it arranged in a very nice, neat way. Also, for people that have game rooms, these are always great because you want to worry about the humidity of the space. So that's something to always be concerned about, because when it comes to relative humidity, temperature, those are the things that are actually concerning for disc rot. So that's sort of not quite misinformation. I think most people do reasonably know that disc rot is something you can very easily avoid. Discs can, even CDs, mind you, can go upwards of 100 years based on relative humidity and storage conditions. So I always find it's very important to just have one of these little guys plopped around somewhere, so you're at least very familiar with your space and you can monitor it. And also, as a homeowner, you want to be mindful of humidity and water and things like that too. Anyway, this has all been great. The top shelf, getting back to Yu-Gi-Oh! So this has just had like Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff. I love my Blue Eyes Ultimate, some of the high rarity stuff, Japanese Ultimate Rares. Hungry Burger I always thought was very funny with the collector rare that came out in the Wild Survivor set. Some DMG, got to put some respect on DMG. Have a Typhlosion setup going on over there. So just little things that have some additional flavor to what I'm into. But I'm gonna also leave this place kind of set up how it normally is, very haphazardly. I'm not gonna dress it up or anything personal, so this is like how it always looks. I've got the lights out occasionally to film videos and stuff like that. A lot of you also saw that we did a lot of filming here for 30 Platinums Part 4. Hello, Melissa. She loves sitting on this little perch right here. Hi, Melissa. Hi, sweetie. You're so good, kitty. You're so good, kitty. And she likes going up there. But I'm trying to identify what is new and what's not new. So like right away, been great for this. I got this recently. It's just one of those, walking treadmills. Because remember, the context of the moving in portion was a new desk, and it's a standing desk. And so like an update on that, right? Have my habits changed? I do stand a little bit, but over time you just sort of, there's a monotony to standing as well. So it's like, oh yeah, like why don't you just get one of these, can slide it under, and then you can actually walk and work. Now for a while I was concerned I might not like take to that. I actually did. So I can like stand, or rather walk and like edit and look at stuff or watch videos, whatever the case is. I mean, obviously the monotony of sitting in a chair, having a sedentary lifestyle is very dangerous. So I've been trying to acknowledge that over time. So this actually has been great. And it's interesting how I thought it would be bothersome to walk and work at the same time, but I actually can do that. So that has been great. That's been a lovely change. As of late, I'm gonna move this tripod over. I think that was there before. The Maja case, I mean, we did do a separate video on that. I do remember that the Maja case took forever to come in. That's what this is called. The company changed its name to Maju Space now, but still got the Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff up there. The PlayStation Museum, as I like to call it. You probably saw this from the various times I was unboxing like new old stock PlayStation hardware. So the PS3s, the PS4 I had for a long time. That was my daily driver PlayStation 5. The Vita is brand new, so these are just pristine, very clean museum piece examples, and that's what I really love about these. The PSP Street, I know, is not a new old stock. It does have some cosmetic defects, but from here, you can't even tell that it doesn't, that it has those things. Same for the PSP Go. It's not completely new, but it's a very clean example. Xperia Play. The PSP was new, so that is a museum piece example. It looks amazing, but check out the piano black finish on this PlayStation 3. It is gorgeous. So I love this setup. We did add the 30th anniversary PlayStation 5 down there. Jack stuff still looking good, so the Maja space, or the Maja case, just has been, for the most part, fully filled out. Just adding boxes up there, that's not really a huge concern for me. As far as what I want to do with that, I just threw some things in there to fill it out. That little cool piece right there is from Rob's store, because he gave me a bunch of like old PS5 promo things from like either a GameStop closure or something. He's, you know, that's what he has with a retro game store. He always has cool things coming through left and right, which is a good time for me to acknowledge people that tend to ask about these items right here, because obviously the big thing, boom, collection. I've already seen all that stuff. I'm trying to like pinpoint the things that are newer that people tend to ask about, and I've been getting questions on these. These are store displays. Now, this is a very clean example of a store display, and it's the same scenario of what I just mentioned before. It's from Rob, and like these are, you know, very uncommon, obviously. This is something that would hang in a store 30 years ago, nearly 30 years ago. So that's basically what this is. It's like a little cutout. You can, you know, mount it from there. Like a lot of these, they're highly sought after, obviously, because they're authentic store displays. But I've always found it to be really cool to try and, it's not perfect, but like match it to like generations. So yeah, your PS1, PS3 stuff there, but I've got like PS2 accessories that fill out the shelf, because that was another thing we talked about initially setting up the room, is that I think for anybody that can be in a position of setting up a whole new game room, don't go into it with the mindset of setting it up exactly how you want. You do want to compromise in the sense that you want to give yourself room for space, because that's the whole point of this hobby, and the context of this hobby is that you're going to be buying more shit. You know it, I know it. So the easier thing is making sure that you give yourself space for when new games come in, but you still don't want to have that blank, so you just fill it and then move things as you go. That's worked out really well. That was another video I think we did, because I had gotten too many games from one platform, so I had to move everything over a section. And for the most part, that's worked out well too, because I've got plenty of space, obviously, so I still have tons of room to keep buying games. But back to the store display thing, so same thing for this PS3 sign that I think was in a GameStop years ago. And then these are the same thing too. So they're like cardboard box displays that you'd find in stores. And then this is like not totally perfect, obviously, but just, you know, Nintendo stuff, which this gets into the multi-plat side. But otherwise, most of this looks pretty normal. I mean, it's changed, of course, but it's games. You know that games are going in there. I did have that one conversation like 2-ish months ago where I said I was finally selling some of this. And as I mentioned in that conversation, it was just sort of doubling down on things that I care about, which is games, and then less so about big box collector's editions. I just really don't need to be buying extra controllers. I've offloaded a lot of those. Multi-plat games that I have on Switch and PS4, it's like, okay, I really don't need these games. I was maybe taking it just a tad too far. So, you know, some of those things I've offloaded, which is great because it puts more money in my pocket, and I've got room to, you know, like it built even more room into these 4 sections of shelves, which for those that keep asking about these shelves too, I always let people know they're called Atlantic Oscar 1080s. But the last time I looked into these shelves, I think they stopped making them. So kind of a bummer, because they're pretty cheap and expensive. I mean, they're like definitely super flimsy until you put them up and mount the brackets into the wall. Then they're like, you know, really sturdy. These things aren't really going anywhere. So I say that as you probably heard noise of them slightly moving, but for the most part, they're locked in. So this chair I got not too long ago, I want to say a year ago. It's a stressless. So that's like another update I can get, right? How has this been for a gaming and workspace? Because it was very important to me that it was conducive to getting work done, which is why I, you know, have all the cables running down there, and there's still enough slack for it to be a working environment. if I want to stand and walk and get work done alongside recording, editing, and like all that good stuff, right? Like I want this to be work and play. So that's work connected to capture stuff. But if I ever want to just like recreationally play games, you just spin that around, play games, right? What I realized not too long after setting it up like that is that this is like, you know, this isn't the vibe I'm going for. So I was like, man, I really need like just a proper lounging chair, and that's what this thing is. I really can't recline it until I sit in it, but you can recline it and got the footrest there. So that's been good too. I bought the blanket simply because, you know, you got to worry about your cats in case they tear up your expensive new furniture that you just got. But Melissa's actually very good with that. So she usually has enough scratching items around the house that I've bought her to where she really doesn't mess with furniture. Isn't that right? You got your own cardboard stuff downstairs and then your own room too. Why are you looking so derpy? Otherwise though, I don't think there's anything like super new. I mean, like I'm sure things stand out. But otherwise, I want to say everything I set up initially really has worked out the way I wanted it to. The back closet, I will say, this still is a nightmare. This has to get cleaned. This was an area that I absolutely like. At that point, I was running out of time to be super organizational, so I want to spend a day and like really clean all that out. But otherwise, I think the 3-ish something years ago when I initially set this up made the sort of normal changes one would make to a space, which is just more knickknacks, maybe moving some things around, selling things out, but then addressing key areas that I realized didn't work nearly as well, which was standing's great, but that kind of sucks after a while. Now I got the walkie boy right here, which is like a little tangent. Now I'm like slightly, now this is like a bit cluttered, right? To have that right there, but it's like you sort of have to leave that out and plugged in, ready to go. The second you always like put something away and it's like, oh, I can just grab it. You're not going to do that shit. I always try to make things very conducive to like, it's right there. It's easier. It's like reducing the friction of like, I want to make sure I put myself in a habit of using that. So it's always on the floor right there. You just, I don't even want to like prop it up against a wall. Like that just is too much work. It sounds crazy, but the easier you make it to where it's like, oh, I really could just pull this out in like 5 seconds and start walking, that makes it easier, even though it's like definitely cluttered now to where I'm walking over this and all this shit to get to the, you know what I mean? Having said that, this I thought was great. This helped a lot. And then also having like a proper lounge chair for just, if I wanted like recreationally play games, I take out the office chair, slide this over, and that has been great too. I do still have the Herman Miller, by the way. I don't know why I went back to this. I think it was just more a matter of like, because this actually has a proper headrest, I can be more mindful of neck posture because you naturally slouch forward with the computer, and I'm aware of that as a problem for myself as well. So with the headrest, at the very minimum, knowing that you can have the lumbar support, which that's the important thing about the Herman Miller Aeron chair, is that you have to worry about your posture when you're sitting like that, and that chair really does force it, but it has no headrest. So with this having, like when I'm sitting, I can properly know that like, okay, I keep my head back to this, and that way I can be concerned with that as well. I'll probably buy one of those extra attachments for the Herman Miller where you can plop it on top. That will be something where you can watch head posture, since that is a very expensive chair versus this, which is mad old now at this point and is fairly beat up, but it was just sort of a temporary thing. I don't know if anybody has any other questions though, maybe I could answer them. Otherwise, this is the room. Like that's the thing too. There was no reason for an update. Everything's been like very similar. There's been no major changes. I think I'm kind of getting the bug to like maybe paint or something like that, but that's also not exactly a high priority item. It's just everything so far has worked out quite well. So that's about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Melissa. Oh, okay. She's got stuff to do. And I'll see you all in the next video. You take it easy.